Hello and welcome everyone to the Stream Feens podcast. This is episode number 10. Got your boy ZLB Studios here. Me, Skrew
Very,
09.
very
Uh,
cold ZLB Studios.
a very cold ZLB Studios. You see him warming his hands there. All right, so
uh,
what have you been up to, Z? How's everything going?
Freezing my ass off.
Yeah, other than
So
freezing your
I would
ass
say
off.
the biggest thing right now is that Em and I, if for those of you who this is your first time chiming into our podcast and everything, uh, my girlfriend M lives with me, and right now our apartment, for whatever reason, doesn't have heat, and we can't figure out whether or not it's our thermostat is broken or B, our apartment complex hasn't switched over to heat yet, because we are one of the units that has central air as well. So right now it's currently like 58 degrees in our apartment, so I'm fucking cold, guys, fucking cold. So yeah,
Uh,
I not only was it just Halloween, so I guess it kind of fits it because it's a
right,
pumpkin.
it's
It
ambiance, yeah.
smells like pumpkin pie. Obviously, you guys can't smell the aroma of pumpkin pie
Mm.
that's in the air right now. But
Oh
hey,
yeah,
it's a good hand warmer. Other than that, I really haven't had too much going on other than just playing video games, streaming, and recording numerous amounts of different things.
right.
But yeah, how about you? You
Nice.
have you have some good news, right?
Yeah. I actually just came back from a trip. I went to my best friend's wedding, one of my best friend's weddings. I was like a groomsman and got to take part in all of that. I had a great time doing it. You know what I mean? I got to be a part of the bachelor party and then got to make sure he was up and ready to go, hydrated, like looking
Oh
good the
my
next
gosh.
day.
Wait, you guys are wild. You did the bachelor party literally right before the wedding?
Yeah, the day, like the
Oh
night
my
before.
god. Oh,
Yeah.
oh, geez. Y'all
Yep.
are wild,
Yeah,
wild.
made it happen. We were like, we had plenty of water, we had plenty of electrolytes, we had it all. Protein
This
for the
poor
morning.
man.
Yeah, no, he was fine. He was good. He was good. He had a
Not
great
me.
time. Yeah,
Well, I lie. I rarely ever get hangovers. Like
right.
the only time that I get hangovers is if I'm mixing like a bunch of crap that I shouldn't be drinking,
Yeah,
or if I'm drinking stuff that's mixed drinks with like a bunch of sugar. That's
yeah.
the only
That's
time.
what gets me. That's
That's
what
what
gets me.
fucks me, dude.
Right. Facts.
But
All right, so we've got a few topics that we're going to cover today, but like starting out, first thing, something that's kind of been, we'll say, in the news as far as gaming and streaming goes, is the Twitch DMC claims that are going around right now. Uh, a lot of people, at least within streaming, should have like probably heard about this by now. A lot of people on Twitter are talking about it. Twitch
a
has
lot.
been a lot of people, right? Has been releasing these pretty much like platform wide DMC claims of some really large streamers, and it seems to be like what the main response has been to that, and the only response that Twitch can really offer as a safe route to go is deleting all their VODs, and that we're talking about streamers like Tim the Tatman, Shroud. I'm not sure that if Shroud's done it. I know that Tim the Tatman certainly, like, definitely did. He had to delete all his VODs, all his clips. Ton of people have. A lot of big
Yeah.
streamers just to
Another another big thing about that though is that like the people that didn't actually go back and delete their VODs and clips and stuff, Twitch did it for them. They literally didn't even give them, like a kind word of saying, "Hey, you got to go and delete this stuff." Like no, it was
right.
straight up. They went and deleted their stuff. Like I heard
They did they give them warning? Do you know?
no, no, at least from
Wow.
what I
Okay.
understand. So the reason why I say that is because I watch a Tarkov streamer. His name is Deadly Slob, I think
Mhm.
is his name.
Mhm. I
I hope
know
I
him.
didn't butcher that.
No, that's it.
Um, Gotcha. So I was watching him the one morning, and he was expressing how like the night before he went live, he apparently got a email sent to him from Twitch that like notified him that they deleted some of his VODs due to DMCA claims and so on and so forth, like copyright
Wow.
claims. So he was expressing it, and I know that it is a common thing for a lot of other people as well because Pokimane also, she has a very popular clip that's going all over the place on Twitter. That's also expressing how she, has worked so hard to get to the point that she's at, and yada yada yada, and they just like are deleting her work pretty
Right.
much, which
Right.
That's literally what it is, but at the same time, hopefully these guys, like, kind of as soon as the initial wave went out, hopefully they thought ahead of time and, backed up some of their more important streams and so
Right.
on and so forth, some of at least most of their content, hopefully.
Right. It
Um,
seems like a lot of streamers had, or from what I heard, at least got the opportunity. Like they got the email telling them that some of their VODs had copyright strikes on them, and that obviously that gives you at least notice that they're either going to get deleted or you should need to do something about it yourself. But
yeah,
hadn't actually heard of them like deleting people's, just doing it for them. That's
yeah,
crazy. I mean, I guess if they have to get it off their platform, like I get like the legal standpoint, because you start getting the music industry trying to dip their hand into things. It's just
yep,
they're covering their bases. Like I it's frustrating that they haven't given us a whole lot of avenues or really clear cut advice as far as streamers, like how to handle that. But there while we say that, there are a few options. There was something real quick I wanted to touch on with that DMCA. There was this. I feel like it's a pretty good example of just how like vague these copyright claims can be. So there's a pretty prominent IRL streamer. His name is Jake and Blake. Um, there was some clip that got copyright stricken on his that was from like 2018. It's like a 30-second clip. He's walking through just like he's walking around outside as an IRL streamer, and he like walks by some like restaurant or something, and there was like a 30-second clip, or just a little bit of a Kanye song playing as he like passed by this thing. And now he's received this copyright takedown for like that snippet. So well, I mean, and then it's maybe that's not a giant clip, or maybe it's not a huge part of his content, but it just kind of goes to show like it's really hard. I mean, you never can see where something like that might come from. Like for guys like
exactly.
us, some if there's some video games that their like soundtracks can get you DMCA'd,
Yeah,
I had heard.
yep,
And it's alls we can do is just I really, I mean, if we wanted to, and you need equipment in order to do it, is like record our gameplay and all that stuff separately, and then just delete all our VODs. But immediately don't record, let any stay on the platform. That's really only the for sure way not to get any DMC claims on Twitch. That's the only
yeah.
like 100% chance.
That's just absolutely crazy.
I
I
you
mean,
know
for me in particular, like, I think really the only game that I've played that would potentially be DMCA claimed music would probably be GTA, and I haven't
Yeah.
played that on stream for I couldn't even tell you. And at that point, like I straight up just turned off the music in the cars because that was it was an option, And
Right.
some of these games, like with the cutscenes, that's the word that I'm looking for. With the
Yeah.
cutscenes and stuff, that's that's not an option. Like it is straight up. You just kind of get thrown into this cutscene, and that's actually that kind of well, in a way, it's kind of a related issue with the whole like uh terms of service in a way. Like I've seen plenty of streamers that have been like getting strikes and stuff on their channel just because of the fact that they're playing a game that, it's their first playthrough. They don't know what the heck's going to be popping up. And the next
Right.
thing you know, there's like a nudity shot. And it's like, well, yeah, I understand why that would be an issue, but at like the same time, like they're not, it's not their
Yeah.
fault.
Right.
Yeah, I
Well,
don't know.
you could argue that the platform should not allow, like if there is that stuff within the game that is not
Yeah,
allowed on their platform, then do not allow that game to be streamed on their platform. Um,
exactly.
but like at the same time, whenever you make that agreement to start streaming, like you kind of
You kind of sign away the
agree.
rights to it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you kind of
Yep.
agree that you'll handle that. You'll make
Yeah.
sure you don't do that.
I don't
Which I
know. It's
mean,
just like a really weird
it
concept to
is.
me.
It is. It's one of those things where, like, they could definitely meet us in the middle on that. It's but
Yeah.
working out all those little details. I mean, hopefully they get there. I've got faith in Twitch, man.
Oh, I do as well. I mean, definitely out of, the majority of mainline entertainment services, I guess you could say,
Right.
Twitch, YouTube live stream. I mean, because YouTube, as much as people want to say that YouTube is YouTube, like there's YouTube and then there's YouTube live stream. Like they're
Mhm.
two totally different
Right.
entities, like
Very
entirely
true.
two different entities.
Very true.
Um, so yeah, I mean, I agree for the most part. I feel like Twitch is somewhat handling it in the right way. In the sense that they went and created what is the actual official name?
So yeah, they created the let me say it's soundtrack by Twitch is what it's called.
Soundtrack by Twitch.
Yeah.
So essentially, what it is like royalty free music plugged in directly to your stream.
Right.
Um,
DMCA, copyright cleared, stuff
okay,
that you can put on your stream. And you also have like as far as it went for me, I actually had to download this like beta version of Streamlabs in order to be able to run it. Which
gotcha.
wasn't I ended up having some issues and not using it. Um uh it actually pulled out my voice audio on one of my VODs, which was due to user error. I'll be honest, I didn't have my voice audio on enough tracks. Um, but just the issues that I did have with it because I was having a uh, alt tab through a couple of things, and I noted it just kind of it added a bit more load to my computer that I really didn't want. I
Yeah.
wanted to just go back to my like trusted Streamlabs setup that I had, so I went ahead and uninstalled that. Another reason, like some of the music on there was good. Don't get me wrong, like that lo-fi playlist sounded pretty good to me. I didn't get all the way through it, but they definitely had some good stuff on there. Even some of that metal I was getting into. Um, but it just there wasn't enough on there for me to
Warrant it.
yeah, I mean it's still in the beta version. As far as I'm concerned, I
Okay.
tried it out. I wasn't super impressed out of the gate. It definitely has potential if they can get all that stuff worked out. And for like a dummy like me, kind of clear cut as far as how to set it up, that'd be great. That'd be something I'd like to see for sure.
So
But
like
all in all, like I think it's nice.
I'm kind of confused on the concept of it though, like because
Mhm.
obviously it's royalty free music, correct?
I mean, as far as royalty, like I don't specifically remember hearing that, but like I know it's just cleared through Twitch, definite DMCA. Like
Gotcha.
you're not
Okay.
gonna get copyright stricken. And honestly, like I'm not sure if that's like the reason they guarantee that is because the like
Because
the
they
software
bought
it
the
actually
royalties.
pulls it out. Well, it pulls it off the VOD. You don't hear anything, or
Gotcha.
you don't hear any of the music. You just hear the gameplay, or
Hmm.
you should be hearing your voice and alerts and all that stuff if set up properly. Not like me, but again, it's still in the beta version. It's certainly usable. If you want to take the time to just like set it all up properly. It seems very usable. There's like some good music, some good artists on there, and from what I understand, they're pulling in like new people, new artists all the time. I see that on Twitter a lot. Like actually, whenever I was doing some research, I'll say this about the soundtrack by Twitch. I saw a lot of links were like how to get on to soundtrack, how to do that. So
Oh, gotcha.
the same way like you and I we both listen to that same playlist that Clean uses, that
Yep.
lo-fi playlist. Um, it's similar in that sense. The way he did it, he just kind of like just brought in all these these
That's yeah.
artists or like starting out artists, and that just had good music and that he wanted other people to hear, and it's
See,
kind
like
of like that.
I guess that's like where like the confusion for me lies. Like
Hmm.
you when this was first like brought to my attention and everything, I was under the impression that Twitch was going in. So I am part of a like website that's called Epidemic Sounds and Music, I think is what it's
Hmm.
called. And you pay a monthly subscription, but you're allowed to use it on, your YouTube content.
I
You're allowed
think
to
I've
use
heard
it
of
on your
that actually
Twitch.
now. Yeah.
Yeah, stuff like
At least
that.
that's a
And
subscription based thing. Yeah.
yeah, and so like that's what I was under the impression was that like Twitch was going and paying these music creators to be featured on their site kind of thing in order to
Right.
like be able to play their music and stuff. So
Right.
then it was technically like under a safe label for Twitch and all of that other stuff. But like the thing is with that is like at the end of the day, I would just rather go and play the music for these smaller guys that Like, for instance, I've
Right.
I've come across a dozen, if so, maybe even more than a dozen of different, musicians that are starting up right now that are on TikTok. They're phenomenal singers and everything else, but they're not
Mhm.
signed to any company. They're just producing music to produce music.
Right. Just doing
Um,
themselves.
yeah, like one of the biggest ones that I can think of right now is his name is Aiden347. He's
Mhm.
on TikTok. He has a phenomenal voice. He has a little bit of like a lisp kind of thing going on, but like at the same time, his music is baller. Like I listen to it all the time on my stream, and I know for a fact that I'm not going to go and get DMCA claimed because number one, he's come out with multiple different videos on his TikTok that said you guys are allowed to use all my music if you want to because of the fact that I'm not signed to anyone. And so,
Nice.
like, I feel like that's the biggest thing that people don't understand with all of these DMCA claims is that, like, yeah, there's specific musicians that are going and giving permission to a lot of these top tier streamers to use their music. Like for instance, 21 Savage gave I think his Trainwreck
Mhm.
on Twitch, like, he's allowed to use 21 Savage's music, but the reason why is because, like, they went through the whole process. It wasn't just 21 Savage being like, "Oh, yeah, you can go and stream my music." Like, he had to go and get permission from, like, the record label that holds 21 Savage and all this other stuff, and it helps
Right.
that 21 Savage was literally,
Giving
part of
permission.
well, and it's not so much that, it's more so, like, 21 Savage, I believe, owns part of his own label.
Oh,
Um,
okay. Okay.
so, like when it comes to that, you have a little bit more of a say on
Right.
what you're doing and what
Definitely.
you're trying to accomplish and stuff like that.
Definitely.
But like that's I feel like when you're starting like streaming and everything, like when I first started streaming, it was a whole different ball game. Like I've been streaming for ooh, let's see, probably like a year with a strict schedule. I would say probably about a year and a half to 2 years without a strict schedule. So there's like months where I wasn't even going live. But when
Right.
I first started, like there wasn't all of these DMCA claims. So you were like literally
Yeah.
allowed to put any music on your stream that you possibly wanted. If for whatever reason Twitch didn't like that, they would just go and mute that section of your VOD and that'd
Right.
be it, you know? Um but yeah, I don't know. It's like a really weird kind of thing.
I don't what
But
was I
yeah,
wonder why they stopped doing that. Like, just muting those areas of
probably
the
just
VOD.
too much.
Mhm.
To be completely honest, the influx of the amount of streamers that have probably
Streamers
come
that
out
came
of
up. Yeah.
that came up out of the whole COVID situation, there's tons of people that are home now. A lot of people got furloughed but still ended up going and getting that, extra 2 grand from the government. There's a lot of people that funneled that into like their setup and stuff like that. Like I know plenty of people that did that. They're
Right.
like, "Oh, I'm already safe, I got enough money for food." All of that, being able to live and bills and everything, I'm just gonna go and take that and put it towards this. And so that's how they started, like they kickstarted their whole streaming thing, their whole streaming career and everything. And
Right.
like that's a cool thing, but like at the same time, because of the major influx, you got Twitch like being like, oh shit, there's a lot of new people on here. We can't monitor all of these people, you know.
Right.
So
A part of that you kind of relate it to the to COVID. I had heard something like along those lines, like that is like it's obviously restricted. Like some people's like touring and stuff. Like as far as artists go, they can't do like have like
yeah,
regular concerts and all that stuff like they used to. So a lot of them have taken to like streaming platforms like Twitch and like YouTube, to just like to get their content out there. Like I know like T-Pain is obviously a big one who's
yep.
on Twitch.
Logic
He
as
was
well.
streaming before Logic. Yeah, he's on there. But he's been putting a lot of time in on there. I know there's plenty of artists that have just been using streaming platforms in general, rather than those in-person concerts and stuff, for
Yeah.
avenues of income. And like so you can kind of like I think that was also a part of it at the beginning of everything. Like there was a few artists that were like, nah, I need to get my money, and then that just
Yeah.
kind of that it only really takes like one relatively large artist to like get the ball rolling, and
Yeah.
then it's
No, exactly.
they're in the door
And
and
then
it's
you gotta
happening.
think about it, also on top of having all of these musicians that came onto Twitch, you also now have a bunch of these sport figures as well, like tons
True,
and tons
true.
and
That's
tons of
actually very
NBA
true.
players
Yeah,
and tons of NFL players, like, they're all coming to Twitch now. I feel like streaming as a whole is becoming way more profitable than like just gaming. You know, you got gaming, you got talk show hosts, you got musicians writing music, and you got artists going and doing these intricate pieces like on there. Like there's just so
Right.
it's such a wide variety, and like
Right.
at the end of the day, like I a huge portion of what goes into a stream is the music that you have for filler for when you're, waiting for that next game, or just, kind of chit chatting away,
It
and like
definitely
you
adds
got to have
levels.
something. Yeah.
Yeah.
It adds production level, and like
Yeah.
it's a good thing to have something coming out of the woodwork that may aid it a little
For
bit.
sure. Yeah, exactly. It's nice to see them started and at least in the direction of a
Yeah.
solution.
Yeah.
For
But
sure,
like
for
you
sure.
did say before, like one of the big halts to it is the sense that like it eats up at your computer a little bit. Is that
Mhm.
right?
Just a
So
little bit,
yeah.
yeah. Yeah, it's got a
But
little bit more of a load than like just compared to what how I wanted to use it, you know? I could because
yeah.
I'm pretty limited when I use I would use it in between raids and sometimes that's a long time, in EFT.
But yeah. Yeah.
But yeah,
Those 12-minute interchange, or not
right.
interchange, reserve times.
I had to just come up with a nice like a nice long matching screen with like
Yeah.
rain and wind and stuff in the back just to have something. I'm still talking
Yeah.
and we're still doing our thing, but like music is just I mean there are a few playlists that on Spotify that you can use, but I mean
Yeah.
even some of those like eventually like whenever I first started using that playlist, there was a song on there that was copyright free, and then eventually like 3 weeks after me using it, there was like a claim on it, and my VOD started getting hit. So and Clean has since taken that song off of there. Um, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's just like, you never know how that comes back to like you never know where it's gonna come from. Like the only safe way
Exactly.
to do it is just either to not play music in general, like 100% of
Or
the time.
go and straight up hire an artist to make simple ass beats for you, or do
Right,
it yourself. I
right.
mean, dude, and maybe this is the time for me to do this whole come up making music that I wanted to do, you know?
There you go. There you go.
I got
Stream
I
Beats
got
by
the Acid
Z.
Pro. Yeah,
Hell
there you
yeah.
go.
Nice, bro. I
No,
like
I
it.
don't. I like the idea of making my own beats, but damn, I made one song, dude. One song that wasn't even a full song. It was like only a minute, maybe a minute long, and oh my god, it took me forever. It took me forever. It has no vocals to it. It just has like a beat to it, but
It's a
it
lot of
still
detail.
takes way too long.
And I bet with you, you're so like specific. Like you got it. That production quality is probably nutty, out of this world.
Maybe I'll share it afterwards.
Yeah,
After
yeah,
the
yeah. I'd like to check it out.
But,
Uh,
yeah, I think this is, like, a nice segue into our the next GPU talkage, because of the fact that we were expressing how, it's going to eat a little bit of your usage on your computer, and
true,
definitely with, things that are coming out with the next gen, a lot of these gaming companies are gonna go and continue to up their graphics and everything else, when it comes to production quality for their games and everything. So yeah, do you want to kick it off? You want me to? I mean, I have up what I was going to talk about specifically.
right? Yeah, yeah. I mean, tear into it. Like, so me
Yeah,
personally, I'll just say this before we get in the conversation. I'm not very savvy. Like, or I'll say this, I'm not the most savvy guy as far as like PC and cards go. But I'm more familiar with RTX, Nvidia in general, because that is what I'm running. Uh, uh, so like, I'll be able to speak as far as my experience goes to that. But much else, I'm pretty new
you
to.
and I are on the exact same page. I'm pretty sure, because that is exactly what I got in my case right over there. I got an
Right.
NVIDIA 1070 Ti. So
Nice, nice.
So yeah, if you guys are unaware, which if you are, I'm very curious to know how you're not aware. But anyway, there's Nvidia, which is the RTX series of graphics cards, and then there's the AMD Radeon style graphics cards. Now, there's obviously always going to be more beneficial aspects to each of them, depending on not only the performance, but also the size of them, how many fans you got in it, the cooling on it, so on and so forth. You know, CUDA cores is another big thing, which is that's a whole different topic that I don't really know too much about. So I'm gonna
Never
try
heard
and
of it.
steer. You don't know what CUDA cores is? Okay, all
CUDA
right, yeah.
cores,
So we're
no.
just gonna
It's
go
French.
and stay away from CUDA cores and
Gotcha,
threading
gotcha.
and all of that stuff because that's a whole different ball game that is way too much for me to go into.
A whole
But
nother
the
episode if you want Z to go into it, by the way. Let us know in the
yeah,
comments, okay?
yeah. Maybe we can get somebody that knows a little bit more than me because like I do know a little bit, but not
Right.
not in depth like that. But I did want to
Gotcha.
bring it to your guys' attention that these two graphics card, well, technically five graphics cards are coming to the market pretty soon here. So the very we'll start with the low end and kind of go up. So the low end one is the RTX 3070. It's coming out pretty soon here. I'm pretty sure it's like November 6th or something like that is when the 3070 comes out.
I think you're
Um,
right.
so the thing with the 3080 and the 3090, which are pretty much the big brothers of the 3070 is going to be a lot easier for the general public to get their hands on. It is a little bit softer of a blow to your pocket as well, but it still offers like a lot of punch for the price of it because in comparison, I believe now it's about the same relatively the same price as like a 2070 Ti, if I remember correctly. I want to say the 2070 sits around like 500, $600, right? At this point.
The 2070, it may have dropped there. Like at one point, I know it was a little more than that.
Oh yeah, when it first came out, it was like
It was up there.
800. It
Yeah.
was like 8 or $900, but I think now that these new 30 cards are coming out, it dropped in a little bit of price. But, the 3070 is definitely very comparable to the speeds of the 2070 Ti. It's not too far off in comparison. If you guys do wanna go more into, like, the depth of the different cards and everything, NVIDIA, if you go directly to their site, they do a great job at going and breaking down and comparing between the different graphics cards. When I was going and purchasing mine, because I am an animator, a motion graphics designer, and also a streamer on top of that, and I like to play games on it. Like, there's so much going into that that it is important to know what your system can handle. So I kind of wanted to have something that if I wanted to go and upgrade down the line when I had more money, because when I built this computer, it was right around graduation time from college. So, I was going into the big boy world. I wanted to make sure I had a computer if I needed to do freelance work. I had it. Um, and not only that, but I also had somebody helping me purchase it. So that kind of softened the blow a little bit. So it
Can
allowed
help.
me to go and get a 1070 Ti.
Nice.
Not everybody can obviously get a 1070. You could probably get by with like I want to say it's a 640 or
Hmm.
maybe a 580, depending on what game you want to play. I
Right,
know
right,
Tarkov recommends somewhere around the 580 to 640s, just because of the graphic content that's in there. So,
right.
and
It's
Tarkov's
quite the heavy
probably
load.
one of yeah, I wanna say Tarkov's probably the biggest game that I know of that requires the most specs other than, what's what is that one that they use all the time for Crisis 2. Crisis
Hmm.
2. Yeah, that's what they use as test strains on their
Right.
graphics cards because that thing freaking eats up
Yeah. Yeah.
processing power, but yeah. I'm not gonna harp too much more on the 3070s. It's a good purchase for roughly around 500 $600 range if you're not looking to go outside of that. It's a good budget, or actually, let me rephrase that, a great budget GPU. Going on to the next one, which is the RTX 3080, it's going to be a little bit bigger than your 3070. That is one of the things that you're gonna wanna look out for when you're going and building a computer, especially with the different sizes of cases. Like my case, it's a Corsair. It's a medium size cage. I don't know exactly which model I have, but I know that if I wanted to try and put the 3090 in it, I do not believe that the 3090 would fit in my rig.
You'd have to like
Unless
reformat it.
yeah, I would have to go and get
Oh,
a
just
bigger
outright a
cage.
bigger case. Okay.
Yeah, yep. Because right now my 1070 is fitting pretty snug in there. The 1070 is roughly about the same size as the 3080, I want to say. So yeah, it would be a really, really tight fit if I tried putting that
Mm.
3090 in there. Um,
Yeah,
to
yeah, it's
give a
big.
little, yeah, 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 very big. To give a little bit of a idea roughly about how big it is by this chart that I'm looking at right here. It's about 280 millimeters long. That is a pretty dang big freaking graphics card. Not
That's
only
very
that,
big.
but it also takes 320 watts of your power from your PSU
Com-
in order to run that thing.
wow. Wow.
Yeah. That means it's eaten up about, well, depending on what PSU you have. I have
Right, your
a
power supply.
850 watt. So that would be eating up quite a bit of my PSU. So depending on whether or not you wanted to run that bad boy or not, you're looking at going and increasing your PSU as well. Um, yeah. To give another perspective on things as well, depending on the motherboard that you have, there are different slot types for your GPUs as well. Sometimes depending on what graphics card it is, it can take up to a 3-prong slot, or there's ones that take up 2.5. I believe there's a couple that take up only 2 slots, if I remember correctly. I don't remember what series that is that only takes 2 slots, but usually you're generally seeing about 2.5 to 3 slots, um, which isn't really a big deal for the most part. I mean, most of the motherboards nowadays have a 3-slot capability, so it's not really too big on that end, but that is something that you're gonna have to look out for.
Right,
And then the
something you might wanna take note
3090,
of.
yeah, and then the 3090 is a 350 watt out of your whatever your
Wow.
PSU is.
Thing just looks like
So,
2 graphics cards put together, man. They were just like, "Yeah,
yeah,
here's"
it's
it's like
sick.
they put 2 2080s together and just, like,
Yep.
wrapped it in the same case. Was like, "Here you go, here's the next gen."
Dude,
Yeah.
and I mean, the performance-wise, dude, the performance
It's
for that
insane seeing it.
3090
It is
is insane.
insane,
It is
bro.
insane, but it is expensive. It's
Well, I
what?
mean,
A grand?
comparatively though, it's still no, like the 3090, I don't believe it's quite what do you have the chart up right now? Are you looking at it? Am I
I have the
mistaken?
chart up, but I don't
It doesn't
know
have the
what the
price? I don't
price.
think it's that expensive, honestly. We can look it up right now.
3090 price is available right
Okay.
now starting
Okay.
at $1,500.
Yeah, that's what I've got. 14.99.
Yeah, that is quite expensive.
That is an expensive, yeah, that's up there. It's so as far as the spec difference, and I mean, as layman, you know, and as basic of a bro as I am, the quality, or at least like the upgrade versus like the amount of out of pocket expense doesn't seem to like it seems like you're getting, you know, you're getting a bit more for your buck. I mean, I guess, but that's with anything. Whenever you know throw a little money down. Um, but I mean, so comparing like the 2080 Ti or the 2080 Super that you know seen uh people stream with, like it is a world in and of itself. Tarkov is just is obviously my benchmark for quality, and I've seen streamers not using it with great quality, big names, uh, but they still get that pixelation. And now I've seen
Yeah.
streamers since using that 3090, same guys, same setup, different card, and it's just incomparably better as far as those really hard scenes go, as far as the pixelation and grass and forested areas or rain. It's quite the difference. A very impressive difference.
So the biggest thing for the Radeon and NVIDIA, it's pretty similar to how AMD and Intel work, where Intel is the pricey, flashy kind of paying for the price, kind of processor, while AMD, it runs pretty much the exact same, isn't as expensive kind of thing. So to put that in perspective for these graphics cards, for the AMD RX 6900 XT. It's a long name. It's the comparison to the RTX 3090 that's coming out from NVIDIA. NVIDIA, we just talked about it, their GPU is going to be 1499. For the 690 XT, it's actually only going to be $999. So you're talking a $500 difference just based off of namesake.
Right,
And
but
they're
now do those
roughly about the
compare in
same.
specs though? Like I had heard like the 3090 is still I mean it's still got a little bit on it, does it not?
The 3090 does have a little bit on it when it comes to the memory and like the cores, like the GPU
Mhm.
cores. So going back to the CUDA cores, CUDA cores is really used for NVIDIA for measurements. And then for AMD, I think it's like stream processors or something like that.
Mhm.
So it's roughly about the same. And then also when it comes to like the ray tracing cores, they're a little bit different, but only by like a couple cores, maybe like two or three. Um, but the one big thing for AMD is people who really, really like to overclock their systems. Um, AMD is just gonna perform way better than the NVIDIA graphics cards will when it comes to overclocking. Now, obviously, if you don't know how to overclock your system, you don't want to go and do it because if you
No,
mess it
be
up,
very
then it
careful.
will, yeah, it'll brick your
Yeah.
system and it will
Yeah.
not be fun. Um,
Do not try this at home without proper instruction.
yeah.
We're talking an hour minimum of YouTube videos, folks, okay? We don't want you burning up your computer.
And definitely not YouTube videos from this guy because
Oh
I
yeah,
don't
yeah,
know
yeah.
enough when I'm
You
talking
know
about
who
you.
to look for. This is yeah, this isn't the how-to video, okay? But yeah,
Definitely not.
that's our disclaimer, all right? That's our
No.
disclaimer.
But they are very similar in a way, but also at the same time, mm, kind of. I don't know. It's for the price. Both of them are outstanding. I would
Mhm.
say.
Mhm.
Definitely, if you have the money to go and spend on the 3090, you should probably go with 3090 over the AMD RX.
Right.
That's my
If you have
general
the money.
opinion.
Uh-huh.
If you have the extra money, now you're already speaking of going and dropping $1,000 on a GPU.
Mhm. Mhm. That's up
Even if
there.
you go with the AMD RX, you're already talking about dropping $1,000. Now that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
But if you had the extra $500, I would go with the NVIDIA.
Right.
That's
Right.
just my personal feelings on it. But yeah, like I said, tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of information on NVIDIA's uh, website. And also on top of that, if you have any more questions, you could definitely go onto Twitter and tweet at Power GPU. They are an amazing company ran by an amazing guy. He's on Twitter. He builds tons of different PCs for tons of different people. But he generally will answer any question that is sent to him. So if you guys have questions about any builds or anything like that, you can definitely reach out to him on there. So once again, it's at PowerGPU.com.
Nice. Tell them Stream Fiend sent you. All right.
Yeah, yeah. Tell him Stream Fiends sent you.
Yeah.
There
Real
you go.
quick, something I wanted to touch on, but at least as far like I said at the beginning of this part of the conversation was like really all I have as far as experience is RTX, you know, Nvidia's card.
Yeah,
One like they do have some really great features. And I just to make sure any Nvidia users that aren't up to date have been living under a rock as far as the updates go. The new NVIDIA broadcast app they updated about a month ago. Right now it is I guess it's been a little over a month ago, but it's November 2nd today. So a little about a month or a little more before this date, they updated the NVIDIA broadcast app and they brought us background removal for our camera for one. So that meaning you can either say I had it up right now, it would be fogging out everything other than me and my chair, or you can get the complete background removal and it'll just do a full green screen effect, and you can use that within your anything that takes a video input, meaning like Streamlabs OBS or OBS, any of the streaming platforms you can use that. Also there the the beta before they actually updated the NVIDIA broadcast was RTX voice, which everybody like absolutely loved when that came out because it was a part of um, NVIDIA wanted to update uh, that noise cancellation software because there was a lot of people going home and having like Zoom meetings and kids taking classes at home and stuff like that. So there was a big demand for like some noise cancellation. We all know, for obvious reasons. So they brought that in a beta version, and then whenever they updated NVIDIA Broadcast, they also updated RTX Voice. You no longer have RTX Voice; it's just included in the NVIDIA Broadcast, and it is absolutely insane. You can get on YouTube here on YouTube and type in something like RTX Voice or NVIDIA Broadcast noise cancellation, like videos, something along those lines, and you'll see people just sitting there with leaf blowers and fans and all kinds of stuff, and they'll have it turned off. They're talking, it's extremely loud for obviously, and then they turn it on. Everything's still going, and it's just completely cancels it out. So it's
which
some
is just
definitely
insane.
it's insane. It's next level tech. It's a big breakthrough for RTX users, of course, for NVIDIA card holders. But if you are one of the lucky ones as far as that goes, I would definitely suggest checking that out.
Yep. Right. Um,
Um,
Speaking of all of the GPUs and stuff, tons and tons and tons and tons of games are coming out, are being adapted,
I'm
all
stoked.
sorts of different
I'm
stuff.
stoked. There's so much good stuff
So
coming. So
so that
much.
kind of leads us perfectly into one of my it's hard for me to say. Apex was definitely one of my favorite games, and then it just kind of rolled off. But hopefully, with this new season, it comes back. I know that
Ooh,
some of the Stream Fiends guys are looking into making a video for you guys here on YouTube, with some of us going and hopping into the what is it called now?
what is
Still
that? The
Arena?
Apex
Is it still
Apex
Arena?
Legends? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. Is it still
Yeah.
going into the arena?
Oh,
Is that what would
you're
that
talking
be
about
the
ranked? Is that what you mean? Or are you talking about?
just in general, dropping down
Oh, yeah.
in, slaying some
Okay.
people.
Well,
But
so we
anyway,
know we know it's the new map. I mean, we know what that's called.
yes, yes, we do know what the new map is called, and if you are not aware, it is called the Olympus. Essentially, it is a. I apologize. I have a dog right here, and she's like attacking me.
That's all right.
Please stay down. Thank you. Go lay down. And so essentially, what the Olympus is, it is a utopia that is built all futuristic and everything else. The base value of it is that it was essentially a city that was created by a lot of people. They lived there, obviously, and then something went wrong. Essentially, what went wrong was a giant explosion that made it to where a ton of the elite society ended up going and moving out. And then I want to say it was Hammond Robotics is the lore. Yes, Hammond Robotics, they went and purchased the island and turned it into an awesome vacation place, and then it became unstable again, and then they went and turned it into the Apex games. So that is the new map that is coming to Apex Legends for season 7, and by far, I'm not even gonna yeah, I'm not gonna low end this. This is the concept art alone on the Apex
It looks
Legends
good.
website looks phenomenal.
Yeah,
I
it
am
looks
so
nice.
excited for this. Specifically, all right. So it's gonna sound really nerdy, but
Uh-huh.
specifically for the skybox, dude. The
The
skybox
skybox.
alone in that looks phenomenal. So,
Yeah.
like, obviously, when you're looking up in a sky, when you're in a game, that
Hmm.
is the skybox. So usually
Right.
what it is a giant dome that goes over the entire map, and then, usually if you look hard enough and you look really, really carefully, you can kinda see, like, tearing in the sky where, like, the clouds don't overlap and everything.
Right.
But the way that they do it kinda looks like the map is gonna be floating in air. I'm not entirely sure if that's going to
Nice.
actually be the case, but I am excited because that concept art looks phenomenal.
Right. We've got a couple of
Absolutely
new
phenomenal.
things coming. Like obviously, but with the whole new season, Season 7 Ascension. Yeah, that's right. Season 7 Ascension, Apex Legends. We're getting a new legend, Horizon, right?
Yep,
That's what I've
the
got down here.
gravitational manipulator
Right,
is her tag
Scottish
name.
scientist with a penchant for messing with gravity. That's the read I got out. Um, her ultimate, I believe, is a black hole, right? And you
Correct.
sh it it,
Yep.
it attract it. I'm not sure of like the DP, the spread of the attack, but it apparently, it's a black hole. It pulls them in, and I assume holds them there in a more advantageous position, so you can put bullets into them, which is nice.
And then it also explodes at the end of it.
Ah, yeah, it's got
So it
that pulse.
explodes and deals some type of damage towards the
Right,
people that are enclosed within this black hole. So not
right.
only are you going to be able to suck people into one spot where your entire team can just go and do a firing squad at these
Hmm.
people, but then you're lowering them enough to where the black hole can just go and explode and it will deal damage to them and then they'll be down. And
Right,
just like that,
right.
I can see so many excellent clips coming out of
Oh yeah.
this.
That
So many
a
excellent.
well timed ult like that, a well timed black hole.
Oh
All
yeah,
right, that's gonna be nuts.
absolutely. And then her
Do you hear?
tactical ability,
Go ahead. Yeah.
her is gravity lift, I think is what it's
The
called.
yeah, gravity lift. Oh yeah, so yeah, it's gonna that. I mean, I just the sound of that sounds awesome. That sounds so Matrixy. You just like impulse, or I don't know exactly how it's gonna work, but they're just gonna come off the ground, and you get to that's gonna be great. It'll throw people off for sure.
So from
That's
the
gonna make for some
video,
cinematic fights.
oh for sure. So from the video itself that showcase season 7 updates, it does kind of look like they're still able to attack you, obviously, because if
Hmm.
not, then their basic ability would be a little overpowered.
Right. I
So they're
just
still
yeah, the
able to shoot at
duration.
you.
Okay.
They're still able to shoot at you, but they're getting pushed up slowly into the air with like no movement control. So you're talking, a solid couple seconds of being able to hit these guys without
Right.
them being able to move while you're
Get out of your way.
ADSing back and forth kind of thing.
Right.
So
Right.
that's going to
Yeah.
be pretty clutch.
Did you see anything about the new vehicle? There's gonna be vehicles in there.
I did see that there's a new vehicle that's coming in, but I did
It's
not
called.
look into exactly what it is
It
or what
looks
it
pretty
does.
interesting. So it's called the Trident, right? And it's just like a little hovercraft. I'm not sure. Like I haven't, I don't know how fast it's gonna go or how usable it is. But we'll definitely get to see. Imagine if the map is so large that you need help rotating. I do know that they said you'll be able to fight from the vehicle, actually, like, meaning I'm not sure that you can
Okay.
shoot from it, but I know you can use your ultimate and your special abilities and stuff from it. I do know that for
Gotcha.
sure, so it'll kind of make it like a little mobile battle station. I mean, imagine, like, having Gibraltar on there and just rolling by somebody
I
and throwing
I can
throwing
just
his ult on somebody. That's gonna be
I
nuts.
c- I can just imagine now you're gonna be able to like go and throw Gibraltar's regular ability, the
Oh, the
shield
dome
bubble,
on it and just drive
on the
around. Yeah,
hood, and he can just
yeah.
drive around without. Yeah,
Yeah.
that
You
that
could
would
do
be
that with
awesome.
the what's his name's drone for a while. I can't think of his name right now.
Crypto.
Yeah, Crypto. You could get it on his
Yep.
dome and like fly it around.
Yeah.
It was pretty nutty.
But another big update for the Apex thing that a lot of people are going to be excited for is the club update. So if you're unfamiliar with what the club update is now it's going to give you essentially a new way to go and meet people. If you I guess the best way that I can think of in order to go and give an overview of it. If anybody here has listened or played, listened, watched or played is what I was trying to say. Uh, Clash of Clans. It's a very old mobile game, but
I've
hey,
played it.
it a lot of people have played it.
Yeah,
But
that's true. A ton.
they have that clan aspect, and essentially what the club aspect, it's going to be pretty similar to it in the sense that, this is a club that either you or a friend or somebody around the world that you have no idea who it is, can create a club and you can join it and you can go and pair up with people and essentially run the arena. You can go and pair up with a bunch of different people. You can see who's online in the club at any given moment. So never will you have to go and sit there and be like, oh, all of my friends are playing other games. What am I going to do? I can't go and play Apex. Boom, there you go. You're going to at least have somebody that's going to be around depending on whether or not you join somebody else's club or your friend's club or whoever's club. It will be there. I definitely foresee the Stream Fiends boys going and creating a club
It could
and
be very useful,
running a
right?
couple.
Yeah. Most definitely, most definitely. And I mean, for the average player, there I know a lot of guys whenever I was playing Apex all the time that like they really didn't care who they ran with, or like those guys that you did like that didn't have a mic, that but they
Mhm.
were they were good teammates, like there was a few randoms that I got that added. I never spoke a word to them, but they added me or I added them after, and we worked well together. I had quite a few people like that on my friends list, and I'm sure there's a ton of those. It'll be really useful for those guys because they're not using
Yeah,
um a
voice
headset audio, like,
communication.
right, they
Yeah,
can get into a specific party that's all about that, or find the clan that's right for them and just constantly run, because there's a lot of guys that don't really care who they run with, they just want to run with somebody, they don't want to run with randoms.
yeah, exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
Um, I guess we can segue into our next one by talking about the
Ooh.
developers for Apex. I mean, developers for Apex, they've been hit or miss here and there, but definitely with this season alone, they're going to be
Mhm.
hopefully finally listening to their community once again, like they used to during season one, season two. And then it kind of went off the rails for a couple seasons here and there,
3
and
was a
now
little funky.
we're kind of what?
I said 3 was a little funky, yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
now they're finally coming back, giving us some great content. Hopefully, this will be much much better received than the
Right.
news that has happened within Cyberpunk 2077. Because when it comes to that game right now,
Oh
there's a lot of
man.
controversy to say the least.
Oh man, you're right.
There's way too much. Okay, so anybody that is not familiar with what's going on with Cyberpunk, a little while ago, I want to say it was probably about a month or two ago, they came out with a update on the game process and everything, and they essentially said, "Hey, in order to get this game out on time, we're going to need to go into crunch time mode." Which anybody that doesn't know what crunch time is, essentially what it is you get all of your developers and all of your gaming assets, like anybody that's creating the game, and you essentially sit down and work through all of the bugs, all of the or leftover art assets, developer, and anything that revolves around the game. Period. They all sit down and they all try to crank it out as quickly as they possibly can before the game's launch. When they went and gave that update, a lot of the community was extremely, extremely, extremely distraught by it because they did not want these people to go and sit in the studio for 80 hours a week working through to try and get this game done. So they listened to the community. They didn't go and do crunch time, and it backfired heavily on them. So then they said, "Hey, we're not going to be able to come out with the game until what's the new launch date? December
10th,
12th,
December 10th,
10th,
I
10th,
believe.
December
Yeah.
10th." So they said, "Hey, the game's going to be delayed by like a month." Um, which, in all honesty, in my eyes, it's a good thing because number one, I wasn't going to be one of those people that go and take off to go and play Cyberpunk the day that it comes out. But December 10th is a lot closer to Christmas, and I
Mhm.
get a couple days off from work in order to go and play it. So I'm not really upset about it. And I've already
Right,
waited a
works
very
out.
long time for it too. So like what's another month? You know what I mean?
Right,
Um,
right.
but not everyone has that exact same reaction. Isn't that
That's
right, Screw?
true. That's very true. Not everyone seems to feel that way. Something, that's also been kind of floating around Twitter and just gaming news in general, like as you guys may have heard, is that some of the developers, or the developers in general of Cyberpunk, the game, have actually gotten death threats. Like, and I mean, more than just that, but that was one of the most extreme, but death threats over this last delay of the game. And it's just like we're sitting here talking about, it's like, yeah, all right, we waited, how long have we waited, all right, we'll wait a little bit longer, like,
Yeah.
and I just it blows my mind that it comes to that for some people, even if they're just internet trolls. It's like, what motivates you, my guy? Why are you? What? It's a few more days. It's a few more days. It's a video game, a very highly anticipated video game. I'll give you that, but it does not warrant a death threat or even a threat of violence. like, obviously, like, I feel so it feels so
Exactly.
silly saying that, like, it needs to be said out loud apparently, you know? It's just it's crazy, how passionate some people get about their video games, like, I mean, I'm a passionate guy, so, like, I don't get how they get to that level with their video games, it's just insane.
I feel like the worst part about it is I think where they ran into complications is that the entire Cyberpunk team was not on the exact same page.
Mhm.
So the day right before they made the announcement that it was going to be delayed for another month, um, their social media, I guess their social media manager, whoever was running their Twitter, there was a couple people that reached out and said, "Hey, I just want to go and confirm that the game is coming out on September, whatever it was, 18th, I think." No, that's too late. It was like
What's that? You said
the
Cyberpunk? Yeah, it's
original.
December 10th. Oh, I'm not
No,
sure
the
the
original.
original
It was like
release date.
September something. It was early
Yeah.
September.
Mhm.
And so these guys went and said, "Hey, I just want to confirm because I need to go and put in PTO for work, so on and so forth." And whoever was their social media manager went and replied and said, "Hey, game's coming out. It's all good." And then a day later, shit hit the fan and it was
Mm,
delayed. And I think that's where they kind of fell short. But
mhm.
at the exact same time, no way in any regard should anybody go and immediately say, "Oh, hey, I'm gonna kill you over the fact that
Right.
we didn't come out with this game on time. And
The
I've been
sheer
waiting for this
scale.
game, blah 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 blah." It's like
Yeah,
immediately from going and saying like, I don't respect you guys as a gaming company because you're taking forever to go and put out your game and you're leading your community on a
right. Put
stroll
your
through the
opinion out
garden.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, a stroll through the garden because of, you guys already hit gold rated. You got all the money that you need anyway in order to produce this game. You're already making tons of profit. Like if they came out with saying something like that, I can kind of understand it because you're a little
Yeah,
upset in the sense
it's
that,
an
the game's
opinion
been.
too, you can
Yeah.
yeah.
And not only that, but it's also kind of like based in criticism in a way because you're
Right.
you're essentially saying like, hey, like, I understand you guys already have our money, you're already gold rated, you made profit and everything, but, like, this is no way that you should lead your community on. We've been anticipating this game for many years since the first Cyberpunk, blah, 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 this, that, and the other thing, and now we're waiting, you know?
Mhm. Mhm.
And I think the biggest portion that's upsetting for me about it is, like, I am kind of on both sides of the argument. Like, I can understand where the devs need that extra time because that is a lot of console prep, especially with the new consoles coming out. You have
9 platforms, right?
you need yeah, yeah, you got 9 different platforms in total because you got all the different new consoles, you got the PC, you got whatever else, the old consoles as well, so on and so forth. Not gonna go
Mhm.
through all of them because that's just a waste of
Right.
time. So I can kinda understand where, like, the devs are coming from because that's a lot of work, and on
A
top of that, they were
lot.
listening to their
A lot.
community they're listening to their community and the fact that the community didn't want, them to go into crunch time and all this other stuff. But, like, at the same time, man, like, they're still being transparent too. Like, that's the biggest thing for me is that
Mhm.
they're telling them, like, "Hey, listen, like, we need the extra time in order to get this stuff done." It's not like just "Oh, we slap some numbers into a machine and boom, the game's done."
Right.
Like, you
Right.
got so many different things coming together and intertwining, and it's like, it's so discouraging when I'm, like, part of a community that's been, like, anticipating this game for so long to see everybody else go and blow it out of proportion and, like, just give this huge upscale battle about it.
So let me
Um,
ask you this.
ugh,
Like, do you feel like the devs of Cyberpunk have like done a good job as far like as far as like the necessity to delay the game, besides all the points of like the work taken, do you feel like they've done a good job communicating the issues they're having and then the solutions they're going to put forward as far as the delay of game goes, like with their community? Like, have they done a solid job at that?
I always have felt like, what what is the gaming company? I'm struggling with the name right now.
Brother, I don't have it down here, honestly. I'm
I
not
wanna
sure.
say it's like RCH, I
Mhm.
remember. Cyber
Yeah.
I can never remember the name of the name of the company that makes them. CD Project Red. There is CD Project Red. There we go. Jesus.
CD Project Red. Got you.
Yes. So they're the developers. I think that they have always been phenomenal at going and giving feedback amongst the community and letting people know where they're standing on whatever game that they're working. If anybody remembers,
Mhm.
Witcher 3 had a major delay as well. But the thing is that they came out up front and they said, "Hey, listen, we're gonna have a delay on production for this game." And no one had an uproar like this. Like,
Right.
yeah, you shouldn't expect it from a developer, period. Like, you shouldn't expect for, people to not have a game out when they say that
Right.
they
Nobody
can.
wants to
But
delay.
at the
Yeah.
exact same time, it is 2020 where everything in the world could possibly go wrong. They're
No
working
kidding.
from
No
home.
kidding, bro. No kidding.
They're working from home. They're dealing with a
Yeah.
bunch of struggles on the developing end. Like, I totally 100% support them in that sense. Like, as somebody who is currently working from home myself, shit happens. Shit happens
Right.
when you don't want it to, and
Right.
that's like the worst part about it. But hey, it's just how the cookie crumbles, man.
Mhm. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
guess
It's
that's
it's a
like the
part
best
of
way
it.
that I can go and say it.
All we can hope is that, whenever it does come out on December 10th, people just, relax,
Yeah.
chill.
And it's the same people that are saying, "Oh, I'm gonna go and cancel my pre-order, blah 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 blah,
Mhm.
this, that, and the other thing," are gonna be the exact same people that are gonna have the game completed in 2 days.
Right. Right. Right.
Like,
Yeah, those people that
it's
are
just
really
how it is.
vocal, a lot of them are like, I mean, even if they have like a negative opinion at the time, they're kind of like diehard fans. Like a lot of the people that feel the need to comment, so they obviously really want to play the game. So
Yeah.
it's like, guys, because so you can kind of relate to those people in that aspect. It's like, yeah, we get it. We really want to play too, but just brother, relax.
Yeah.
Like they'll get it out, and we'll all get to play this masterpiece of a game all at the same time, and hopefully with little to no bugs because they've taken their
Yeah.
time doing what they need to do. You know.
And that's the funny thing is that there's tons and tons and tons of developers that are doing the exact same thing where they're having to delay these things because of the fact that, COVID's going on, they're working from
Hmm.
home, so on and so forth. And then they come out and the community is like, "Oh my god, this is great." Like, "Thank you."
Right. Right.
They're
Yeah.
like, "Thank you for going and delaying it." The same thing
Right.
happened for me when I was excited to go and play Animal Crossing. Animal Crossing got delayed till March 20th is when it came out. It was supposed to come out, I wanna say February or something like that, maybe even before that. Um, but, I had to wait for that. And, Tarkov,
Mhm.
how many times do we have to go and sit there and say, "We're so excited for these patch updates to come out." And then they say, "Oh, this is the estimated time for when it's gonna come out," and
Mhm.
then it doesn't come out. And
Right.
then the community's upset. And then they're like, "Oh, this is just typical Tarkov. This is just typical battle state games. Blah 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 blah
Yeah.
blah. Nikita Y, Nikita this, Nikita Nikita." And
Nakeda.
then the next thing you know, the game, the whatever it is, the update comes out, and then
Mhm.
everybody's like, "Oh my god, this is great."
Right. Right.
And
Well,
it could be
you
even the
get those
most
negative
subtle
Nancy's
things.
sometimes. Yeah,
Yeah,
true. They do some small detail stuff that
yeah.
makes a
And
huge difference.
so, like, those people that are gonna be the negative Nancy's are usually the ones that are like, "Oh, you guys said that this was gonna be a big patch, and it wasn't a big
Mhm.
patch. So now
Right.
I'm upset. Now I'm not gonna play the game for
Right.
3 days, and then
Yeah.
I'm gonna go and play it again."
Yeah. Just as much as you used to, and you're gonna enjoy all the improvements just like
Yeah,
everyone else did.
exactly.
And
Which
speaking of the patch, right?
Yep,
If you, I mean,
12.9?
12.8.
12.8.
12.8.
Yes.
It was the most recent one that has just come out, or I say just come out. It's as we're recording this, it's been roughly almost 2 weeks
2?
ago. Yeah,
Yeah.
something like that. Um, and I mean, there were some really nice additions to Tarkov as far as this latest patch goes. I mean, some stuff like a lot of people were asking for, or I'll say so. The first thing that jumped out at me as far as the patch goes was that compass, because me coming
Compass.
from like uh
PUBG. Any
PUBG,
battle
yeah, any of
royale.
those games, exactly. Any of those games where it was east 185 or whatever, whatever it was,
Yep.
east, west, north, like just being able to quickly call that out, was instrumental in like winning a fight, or just at least maintaining an edge, or maintaining an advantageous position over the enemy, over like whoever you're calling out, or whatever it may be, because like in those quick moments when you need to like tell your teammate you saw somebody, or tell your teammate where you're getting attacked from, like that's such a big
Yep.
deal, being able to quickly call out and for it to quickly be understood, rather than calling out like some land, the bush by the tree. It's like, wait, okay, we're on woods, man, you're gonna have to be more
you
specific,
got
brother.
you got
Yeah,
so many bushes.
yeah.
Now,
So
I
we
think the most helpful part of that compass though is the fact that even though you're opening it and you're reading it like a compass, down in the
mhm,
bottom left corner it also tells you a number.
exactly.
Um
Yeah.
Going back to the 185 thing or whatever,
Hmm. Yeah,
you're
it's
looking
zero
in
to
that general
360.
direction, you can immediately go down into the bottom corner and look and say, "Oh, this is 22." And then you
Right.
just go and immediately say, "Hey, 22." But thing that I like about it is that it's not super overpowered in the sense that it doesn't feel very outside of the norm for
Right.
Tarkov because you
Right.
still have to go and pull this thing out while you're in the
Exactly.
middle of a fight. So you
Exactly.
are taking a couple seconds in order to pull this thing out, but at the end of the day, if you're getting shot at and you don't know where the heck it's coming from at first, most likely you're gonna die in Tarkov,
In my
unless you're
opinion,
lucky.
that's very true. That's very true. I think like the main use, at least as far as I'm concerned, in my gameplay, that the compass might get used for is really just learning the cardinal directions. Whereas like before, whenever I didn't know the maps, I always had a map on an up. At first, it was on my
Mhm.
phone, and then whenever I got another monitor, I would put a map up, and eventually I learned them and didn't have to keep them up anymore. Even at the time, like whenever kept those maps up, the it wasn't set up north up, south down, like, and there
Yeah.
was no legend, there was no anything, so there was no way to actually tell, like, unless you just paid attention, and ran the maps enough to know where the sun came up and the sun set, you weren't going to know east and west, and then, of course you could figure it
Yep.
out from there, but that was the only way. And so it won't so much for me be pulling it out mid-fight or something. It'll just be that I've been in dorms so many times, I know the south end is the car extract, or I believe that's south, the
Yep.
south end of the building, and eventually, like, I think the player base will, it'll be very similar, to like I used to need the map up to know where I was going, and I used to need to check the compass. But yeah, I think it'll just give us the ability to learn the cardinal directions in the game, which will
Make it
make
a
a big
lot easier
difference.
for
And then we
call
can get
outs.
specific with the call outs
Mhm.
if we need to. It's like north, well, like north, that's the whole building. Well, like north 286, or whatever it may be.
Yep.
But
I
yeah,
do
there's
agree.
tons of stuff really that we could go over. Like the new type of bleeding, heavy bleeding. That's me
Heavy bleeding
personally.
is brutal.
Have you gotten one yet?
Oh, yeah. Very
Yeah.
first game. Very
Yeah.
first
Oh,
game that
that's
I went in
right.
with,
That's
yeah,
right.
in customs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, they're serious. They have to be dealt with ASAP, or you will die. You will die.
And not only that, but then they also added the tracking too. So if you go and get a heavy bleed and you walk away
Oh, that's
and you go to
right.
go
It
and
leaves
tourniquet,
pools of blood. Yeah.
yeah, somebody can
Yeah.
easily follow you down and find you pretty quickly.
Right.
Because it does leave quite the blood trail.
Right. So yeah,
So
keep
that
your
is
eyes
something
open in
that's new.
Tarkov. Yeah, keep your eyes open for those blood trails. It's a thing now. You can actually track
Yep.
people. They said they added a well, so while we're on the heavy bleed, so they added the tourniquet and the hemostatic syringe.
Right.
And those things, those both stop heavy bleeds. The Esmark tourniquet is a one-use item, and then the hemostat syringe is a three-use. I think the syringe is like a 2 second quicker use time, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure it's at least 1 second faster as far as the use time goes. Then, of course, there's multiple uses. Um, what else do we have here? We've got,
The new
yeah, the
shotgun.
compass, the new shotgun.
The new
Oh, the
shotgun
K
is
Star.
absolutely insane.
By the way, guys, I'll throw
So
out a quick plug for that one. Like I've got a nice clip coming as far as that guy goes. I flashbanged some guy back to like Skyrim or whatever it was. I mean, it was bad. It was a bad. But yeah, what were we gonna say?
I was just gonna say that there's three different rounds, 4 different
There's 3
rounds.
different rounds. Well, okay, so I mean, there's like another brand of like the same round, but there's
Yeah,
essentially 3 different rounds. There's the
okay.
flashbang, which
There's
is the star round, right?
yeah, yep.
Shrapnel
Then there's
round.
shrapnel, which is buckshot essentially,
Mm-hmm. And then there's
and then there's this slug,
it's another shrapnel. It's so there's shrapnel like number. Let me find it
12 and
specific.
25, I think.
Yeah, it's something like yeah, and one is slightly more expensive, but does have more accuracy as far as range goes. Uh,
Thing
which
is brutal.
I mean, it smacks people. If you take that thing to factory, I mean, it just you can put people down with one shot. Like it absolutely annihilates scavs. Scavs aren't running around with that kind of armor. Like you could probably take out scav guards or like boss guards with that stuff pretty easily. I would, they it takes down PMCs pretty easily. There's not a whole lot of people running. Well, I was about to say there's not a whole lot of people running thick gear right now, but it just depends on what map you go to.
Yep, as it usually does.
Right. Right.
Um, then there's the Colt, the new pistol that they added. It's very similar to the other
Yeah, the
ones.
M45A1 pistol. It's very nice.
Yep,
Yeah. Yeah. We're looking that like I haven't gotten to use that one yet. I do have it in my
I have not
inventory right
either.
now. But yeah, I found one in raid. I don't know if I found it on a scab or not. But from what I've heard, now I haven't actually heard the weapon fired, but from what I've heard, through the grapevine, that it sounds really cool. So I
Ah,
want to try that out.
nice to know.
Then we
Um,
also had the RFB rifle, right? Which is that new it's like yeah, you haven't got to use that yet. It almost looks
hmm.
like a big version of the Ash 12. Like I haven't used it myself,
Oh, I know what you're talking
but
about.
yeah.
I've seen Deadly use that a couple
Yeah.
times.
It thumps like
Yep.
just the noise. It's especially silenced. It's got like some bass to it even when you're just like you hear somebody fire it on stream. Thump, thump, thump. It sounds heavy.
I think
Uh
that's about like the main points, correct?
I mean
Is there anything
essentially
else that was super big? Because
there's
I feel
nothing
like
really
other than
big.
that loading mechanic where you could like go and pop out or
There
like
was the
be able to put in.
screens. There was the loading screens, like
Oh,
whenever
there is
you're
the
you're
loading
pairing,
screens.
and then of course they had like the character animations. I'm sure all
Yep.
EFT players have noticed that in the lobbies. Like your guy checking his ammo and doing all these different things. They also added like a color uh upgrade. It's just it's kind of like a new add-on to post effects. It's just a new layer. It's not post effects, but um I didn't really like it. I wasn't a big fan. They need some optimization, in my opinion. Just like their binaural audio.
Yeah.
They're getting better with that. Like I check it out every once in a while, but yeah, it's not quite there yet. Um,
Gotcha. It's definitely not the biggest patch, but it was definitely needed in
right,
order to show quality of life for the game itself.
right. Real
Um,
quick, I wanted
the
to touch on that patch though. So as
uh,
we all know, like you were saying, this isn't the biggest patch, right?
mhm,
But something to look forward to as far as Escape from Tarkov goes. I'm not really all that like versed, or I'm not a veteran of the game. I've been around for a patch and a half, right? But there's a lot of guys that have been waiting on like a rebalancing patch. A lot of the pros, a lot of the elites, those guys that they're really hoping for something that's just going to bring some balance back to the game. And from what
coming.
Nikita has said, and he said it to multiple streamers that I know of, meaning like Pestily, Clean, uh, who else was
Deadly.
he talking to? Deadly, like that he talks to, that this next patch that we can hope for. I mean, it's definitely going to be it's going to be past January before we get this next patch or a wipe. But this next wipe and patch that we get past sometime in January or further on is going to be a rebalancing patch, and that's coming
And
from
I am
Nikita.
so excited.
Exactly. That's supposed to balance out, like, because there's issues with ammo for, first of all, ammo penetration, armor. There's issues with the weight
How
system. There's
how
issues with
abundant
pin. Yeah, the
and
how
how
abundant
abundant ammo
high
is.
tier game, or yeah, high tier gear in general becomes in
Yeah.
the end. It's just there's just a few things that need to be balanced. I love the game. I'm not even like a smidge tired of it. Like I take my breaks when I need to, but I'm stuck on Tarkov. That's
Yeah.
definitely my go-to. But
Tarkov
I'm super,
Tuesday.
yeah, Tarkov Tuesday, exactly. Oh, that's a great, yeah, there you go. That's a great segue into something we wanted to talk about was our up and coming Stream Fiends
Video.
SF Raid series is what we're calling it. Which I don't know if you guys have been been in the streams lately, but ZLB Studios and I, Skrew 09, have been having a pretty regular gig on Tuesdays. We call it Tarkov Tuesdays, and we've also started a new thing where we're going to be recording a series or episode of that series, Stream Fiends Raid series, that day every Tuesday, and then we'll be releasing those videos weekly. Z, do you want to explain what we're going to be doing for
Yeah,
the raid, or
no,
would you
for
like
sure
me
I
to?
can. I can definitely do it. So essentially, Screw and I are we when we first started the series, we started off on customs because number one, it's the basic map that literally everybody needs to start on. In the sense that that's where most of your tasks are going to come into play and everything. We didn't really touch on those too much in the series because we're saving those for a later vid. But we are taking you along our typical raids depending on where we spawn. So our main goal for the series is when we first started the first video and everything, which is going to be going live sometime in the near future. Um, we started off with very basic, like very basic gear. We had two mags of PP-19 ammo, obviously a PP-19, scav
Mhm.
vest, not even a bag.
No armor, no
We had
headset.
a Salewa, and that
Yeah,
was
we
and then
had
and
heals and
painkillers,
painkillers. That's right. So
and
we
that
could
was
stop bleeds and
absolutely
get
it.
past, yeah, and get past fractures.
Yeah. And so essentially what we tried what we are attempting to do as we still speak, because tomorrow is our next part of the series, is trying to do um increasing our chatliness as we go and run through these different maps and everything, starting with the basic of basic all the way up until maybe one day getting into labs after we can afford a labs key card and so on and so forth. Obviously, it all depends on how well Screw and I can go and perform when we go into these raids. But we
We get one chance a week, but
yep
as long as we can accumulate gear, and like ZLB said, over time, our gear will get more and more Chadleys. So that first raid of the day on Tarkov Tuesdays, which is all the more reason to tune in, by the way, Tarkov Tuesdays, is just gonna be
7 p.m.
more.
EST.
7 p.m. EST every week,
Sorry.
my friends. That's no, that's true. But that first raid that ZLB Studios and I do together is going to be increasingly Chadley, like you said, provided we survive. But yeah, it seems like something that could be like really hype, especially like the farther in it we go, because that's going to be our first raid together, like you and I. I'm like
Yep.
some, there's sometimes I'm on a little earlier, but yeah, the first raid when you and I hop in together, we're eventually going to just have like labs cards stacked and nothing but slicks,
That would
995,
be nice.
M4s, just, yeah, just shredding stuff for the first raid. It's going to be great.
One day we'll get there. But
Someday.
yeah, as of right now, we're starting low gear. I want to say both of us are in a pretty good position for tomorrow's episode, though.
Yeah,
I
we've
have a
still got our
couple
gear.
guns that I can go and take in with me without really spending too much on anything. I have
Hmm.
some gear as well to go in and run into as well, and I'm sure that you're about the exact same, if not even higher than I am. So from here on out, we're both going to have different gear loadouts essentially. We just
Right, we did
started with the
start with the
same, and
same, yeah,
yep, and pretty much we're just going to keep going until we can't go anymore, literally.
right,
So,
yep, run until the wheels fall off.
and that
All
is
right,
where we are for that.
yeah, so that's just about gonna wrap it up for us with this episode of the podcast. But something a little different we wanted to do this time was we wanted to ask you, the viewer, like what you think about the topics and just how we're going about what we're doing here. We'd like to have some feedback in the comments if you guys liked. So any of the topics that we've covered, if you feel like there's something we missed or you've got something that you would like to add to the conversation, we want to hear about it. Let us know in the comments below. You can always add us on Twitter as well with like any questions you have or any like Stream Fiends related stuff. By the way, hit us up on Twitter. You can find all
At
our
Stream Fiends.
at Stream Fiends, exactly. All Stream Fiends related content is right there at your fingertips. So that's a good tool to have. What else do we have here? I think
Um, Another big thing as well, Screw kind of touched on it a little bit when it came to recommendations for you guys for topics and everything. Uh, it is something that we want to include going forward and everything. Maybe we'll choose a couple comments here and there and go and explain more of what your questions are and how they pertain to us, so on and so forth. Touch a little bit more on the topics and everything to kind of more include you guys into what our conversations kind of revolve around and everything. So if that is something that you want, just go and post some of your topics down below, and we will go and choose some of them and hopefully touch base on them the next time that we record. So yeah, and if it becomes such a big thing where we have multiple different comments coming through, maybe maybe it will eventually revolve into doing two different podcasts each week, where one we focus on major topics and other ones we focus on your guys' comments
right,
and
user
topics
topics.
and concerns. Yeah,
That's a great idea.
so it all
All
kind of
right,
revolves around your guys' interactivity with us, and
exactly.
we would always love to answer any questions that you have regarding any topic, literally any topic.
Please.
I think we have somebody that is versed in literally any different topic that you can
Some
think
yeah,
of.
some yeah, some topic. Yeah, if you've got something you want to talk about, we probably have a member on the Stream Fiends team that has some in-depth knowledge about it. If yeah, if they're not a complete guru, I'm sure they have at least a talking point or two,
I was
something
about to say
interesting,
we have 9 members now at this
right?
point, I think. So yeah, we're good. We got a
Oh
couple
yeah,
people that can talk about different stuff. So
for sure.
um, but I think that's about it for this
I believe
episode. Is that
so. I
correct?
believe so, my friend. Yeah, that is about it. That's gonna do it for us.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, that is pretty much all we have for you today. We appreciate you all hanging out with us today on Stream Fiends podcast episode number 10 already, which is
Number 10.
insane to me. I think I joined when we were on probably maybe episode 2 or 3, and I've already been on a couple of these guys. So yeah, if
Right.
you have a favorite Stream Fiends podcaster that you want to call out, make sure to go and do that in the podcast. It's
Yeah,
okay
let
if
us
you go
know.
and say that it's me and Screw. It's
Oh
totally
wow.
fine.
Wow. All right.
Anyway,
Padding our odds.
anyway, that is pretty much all I have for you guys today. Right now in our Stream Fiends merch collection, which the link will be down in the bio. Um, I believe that the breast cancer awareness merch is still live. I'm not entirely positive on that, but if it is still live, make sure to go and grab your guys' merch for that, because 100% of the proceeds goes towards breast cancer research and awareness. And
Go check it out.
from all of the Stream Fiends guys, it's a really really important topic to go and hopefully someday, hopefully we will resolve worldwide, which would be absolutely phenomenal.
Right.
Um, and every dollar helps towards that goal. But
Exactly.
until next time, we also have a couple other sponsors, which is Rogue Energy. Make sure to go and get your energy supplement. You can use code FEENS in the checkout, capital FEENS, and you will get 10% off your Rogue purchase. And we also have Cinch Gaming, which is very similar to Scuff controllers, except instead of the paddles on the back, they got the little buttons, and it's a lot more comfortable. So make sure to go and check those guys out as well. Use the exact same code FEENS, FEENS, and you will get 5% off for Cinch Gaming.
It's a steal.
But yes, that is all we got for you guys today. Appreciate you all hanging out with Screw and I. And on top of that, make sure to stay on the lookout for the Tarkov video, because that will be coming soon. We also have an Among Us video coming out pretty soon here too. So there are tons of different content coming your guys'
Tons of
way
stuff coming.
pretty dang soon. But that is pretty much all we got for you. Until next time, guys. Bye bye.
Peace.